I think we're about to see the best time for real estate investing of our lives. I think if you're ready to get involved in real estate, the next 12 to 24 months is going to bring some incredible potential and amount of value. It's just a matter of being able to find those deals, right? There's two things going on.
Welcome back to the Passive Road to Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Jarrett. Today, we're joined by Renato Geromel. Renato is an investor and founder of Geromel Capital. With experience in investments and construction, he has an investment portfolio of over 2,600 units. He's worked on projects that range from hospitals to multifamily properties. A few interesting projects he worked on include a 26-story, 516,000 square foot assisted living facility and a 157-unit multifamily high-rise. Renato is super passionate about construction and real estate investments that bring financial freedom to his investors and employees. He lives in Orlando, Florida, and enjoys traveling, skiing, and scuba diving throughout the world with his wife. Renato, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, pleasure being here.
Yeah, great to have you. So you're from Brazil originally, and now you're in the U.S.
Exactly.
Now maybe you can kind of give us a background of, your real estate experience there, and then also, what you're doing here.
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up in Brazil. Real estate has always been kind of like my passion. I grew up in a family that were builders. They build real estate in Brazil. So from a young age, I was always around, the building construction aspects of things. So that always kind of intrigued my intrigue to what I want to do, being around that kind of environment. And always looking at real estate. My dad was a dentist, but he was always looking at real estate in the weekends, which really got me interested in doing that. So I started my real estate portfolio by buying a few units in Brazil, along with my dad and my family. So I managed some of that, some office space as well. Nice. And then I always wanted to be in the industry, which made me come here, come to the US for school, where I got my degree in engineering. So I have a dual degree both in structural engineering and in electrical engineering. And throughout my engineering career, I basically worked in buildings. And that's where you see those projects I talk about, which is like multifamily. Whenever I got started, in working in multifamily on the engineering concept is where I started talking to syndicators and figuring out how the whole syndication process and owning apartment buildings kind of took place. And that's what really intrigued me to move on to, buy real estate, syndicate, and now looking at some construction projects on that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's I'm sure not easy degrees to get, both of those.
Yeah, it's really cool being a part of a team and building such massive projects. Definitely a lot to learn on those.
That's awesome. So what? How long does something like that take to build? Like 516,000 square feet, and how? I guess maybe you can describe that project a little more.
Yeah, so that project was a multi-living facility. So it's that was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I worked on that project for about 2.5 years. Oh, wow. So it's a pretty long project, and that's only on the project management side of things. Okay. So I went in usually on owner concept. So we talked through how the expansion was going to be, how the building was going to come into play, and then after the whole architect engineering came into play, which was a good year-long process. We got a GC involved where more construction materials on that. That's the another 2 years or so, and then construction started, which was another 2 years, about 2 years of construction, because it was high rise. That took a bunch of extra steps, and we were hitting the pandemic there, so it was a few issues there as well.
Yeah,
and then because of those issues on that building itself, it's a high rise right in front of the lake. So the winters, if you don't close the building, there's a bunch of delays because you don't close, so there's winters and all that. So it was definitely an involved project to be a part of, and I learned a lot. And that was my first project that was more multifamily related. And then from there, I worked on quite a few different multifamily projects.
Nice. Is that your favorite kind of project now? Is the multifamily?
Yeah, definitely multifamily. I think, from my perspective is where I'm able to involve the most amount of people. and I like to have everybody winning around me. I always say that if I'm going to do a project, I wanted to, involve as many people as possible, create relationships, and be able to have my whole team, my whole partners winning. So that's where I found to be able to, create better freedom for my investors, my partners, and everything. And that's why I focus on multifamily, because the whole mindset of multifamily is where I found to be able to create the most abundance and freedom as to what relates to me.
Yep. More of a team sport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, everyone. Hope you're enjoying this episode. Are you ready to maximize your real estate investing to its full potential? Join us at Level Up REI Coaching and take your life and business to all new levels.
Send an email to nick@levelupreicoach.com. That's Nick, N-I-C, @levelupreicoach.com.
Now, you do a lot of networking. Maybe you can kind of give our guests, and the viewers a little information about why you do that. And, obviously, like you said, it's a win-win for everybody, but you're traveling a lot, networking a lot. Maybe you can kind of go into why people should be doing that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this podcast is a mean of networking, you're not necessarily learning one-on-one, but you get to know people and then reach out, right? I like to tell people that I'm a terrible networker. From a very young age, I was always shy, not talking to people and not saying too much. So I'm not a good networker by any means, but I like to use what I call the sniper method of networking. So I know exactly who I'm going to whenever I'm in conferences and talking to people. I get to know them a lot through podcasts or through other means before I reach out. And I know exactly what I need, not necessarily what I can take of that person, what I can learn from them, but I know exactly what value I can provide to them. So on the networking side, I try to find conferences, find, different meetups, different things that I get to know the people in a more one-to-one level, because that's where I'm good at, the one-to-one, and then being able to provide value. Yep. So that's what I found the most, when I can provide the most value is usually where I get the most value as well. Sure. And that's what I try to do.
Makes sense. Now, before you go to a conference, do you look to see who's going to be there and kind of pick out who you want to talk to? Like, this is my top 3 or 4 people. Is that kind of like your sniper method, like that?
Yeah, usually I get to know them a little bit. If I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think that's how I started learning more about multifamily, was through podcasts. Yeah. So I try to listen to quite a few podcasts, and then of course there's little specific podcasts that you get more value of others and whatnot. So I try to find those niches. And then if I listen to somebody in one podcast, I try to listen to the same person on another podcast and get to know more about them. So if I hear something of, hey, I'm going to this, to this meetup or to this conference, then I try to go there and meet them as well. We have a pretty recent meetup that we do in Orlando, and you're a part of it as well. So we're able to meet a lot of people there, and that's one way, to really expand on my networking is through the different meetups and conventions.
Yep. And anybody, everybody watching, if you want to DM, me or Renato, and we can give you the link. We do every other month is online. We bring a guest speaker in to speak. And last month we had a infinite banker on there, which was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was great. It has been, fairly new meetup, but we've got great feedback, and it's always great to have people there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you've got so you got a lot of stuff going on. What are you most excited about right now in the real estate space? And then is there anything on the horizon that maybe keeps you up at night or is a little concerning?
Yeah, I think we're about to see the best time for real estate investing of our lives. I think if you're ready to get involved in real estate, the next 12 to 24 months is going to bring some incredible potential and amount of value. It's just a matter of being able to find those deals, right? There's 2 things going on. The whole, potential recession, whatever you want to call it. Some people think we're already in a recession, but we're not. But either way, we know that interest rates are going up. Therefore, cap rates are going up. So there's an incredible amount of value that's being created if you can buy on a high cap rate market. because as we all know, if interest rate go up, cap rate go up, so allows you to buy deals, right? And there's most likely gonna be sometime that interest rates are gonna go down, and therefore cap rates are gonna go down. So you're gonna have an immense amount of value being created at that point, right? At the same time, construction is amazing in the Southeast because there's so many people moving. So there's an incredible amount of value being able to create there. Price of construction is coming down. A lot of people moving Southeast, so great there as well. And then, so that's the second thing. And then the third thing that I just, came to mind is because there's this whole transfer of capital because of baby boomers to, baby boomers are becoming now, living the workforce, switching. So there's a 5.1 trillion. I was just in a meetup last night and they explained this around. $5.1 billion of capital transfer between baby boomers and everybody coming into the market. So, so I think it's an immense amount of value that you're going to see within the next, 12 to 24 months. It's just being able to have enough knowledge and be ready to take advantage of that.
Yep, I agree. I mean, we're seeing stuff, $1 million to $4 or $5 million discounts already. We've got another 2 rate hikes coming, one next week and then another in December. So
there's always those owners, that they don't, they take a little bit to get adjusted to the market,
Right.
But as soon as you have a loan that comes due or anything like that, you're going to see those incredible deals come into play.
Yep, exactly. So maybe, I know you've done quite a few deals this past year. Maybe you can kind of go into, one of them and kind of how it was structured and, and what it was.
Yeah, so I'm fairly new to real estate in terms of the syndication game. So within the last year, we had 3 main deals that we took a piece of, which was 2 in Jacksonville and 1 in Atlanta, Georgia. Learn a lot about those deals. So the main thing I did is provide value in terms of construction because I have background in construction. I'm always trying to get involved on that. So I focus on deals that value add and I can add value in terms of construction and then raising capital, right? So I don't know if there's anything specific you want to know about the deals, but usually that's what I come into play, like, coming in as a GP partner, being able to provide value in terms of the construction piece, and then raising capital. I mean, deals always an easy way if you're looking to get into syndication, find a specific niche that you can provide some value, and everybody really needs capital raising skill. If you don't know, SEC guidelines don't allow you to only raise capital, so make sure that you're looking for something else, but finding that niche that you can provide value on and then raise capital. On my Jacksonville deals, one thing I like to say is we start raising capital from international investors on that deal. Because of me being from Brazil, I have some connections there. We started raising capital. So that capital structure was a little bit different to be able to raise from international investors, but it's something that we were able to do, and we're looking to do more of that.
That's awesome.
Get some international capital in US and some better returns for the Brazilians. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. No, I agree. I mean, if you can raise capital, you can be in any deal you want, basically, and everybody needs a capital raiser. I guess, do you have any points or tips for somebody? Because a lot of people are scared to ask for money, or, what do I say? Anything you can, kind of give the listeners as advice for that?
Yeah. So, I started learning capital raising because I knew there was a way in, basically. And I knew people that wanted to get invested, right? But there's 3 things that you should do whenever raising capital. I say, it's the know, like, trust. I see a lot of people talking about that. Create your list, create the connections, create that know, like, trust scenario, right? And it's if you have those 3 things to play, it's much easier for you to be able to raise capital. So I always try to, build my list. That's something that I didn't start doing from the beginning, but always when I go to conferences, I, go to meetups, I try to talk to people one-on-one, see what they value. Then I put people in buckets, right? I know what they're looking for in their investments, and then I provide a value specific to what they're looking for. So I try to, I'm looking right now for people that want to invest capital in like new builds, for example, right? It's something we're trying to do. So I know people that are interested in construction, and I reach out to those people and I say, hey, look at this many people are moving to Tampa, to Orlando, to Florida, and so forth. And I give those statistics, and I say, hey, we're looking to do this within the next 12 months. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
And I just keep giving value and providing opportunities for them to talk to us directly.
That's great. Yeah, and the migration. I mean, I was at a conference last week, and as you know, I mean, we have like 1,200 people a day was the stat they gave of people moving to Florida, which is
very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we look at that rate, that's one thing I try to look a lot in terms of what is the amount of units being built in a specific location versus the people moving. And right now, in the Central Florida area, we're looking for 1 to 3. So there's one percentage of people, percentage of units being built to a 2/3 of people moving. So there's an incredible deficit of units coming to market.
No wonder they had 20-30% rent growth in a year. It's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have to with that kind of ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any daily habits that you have that kind of keep you motivated or, keep you driven towards success that you have right now that you keep doing? I know I've seen you posting some stuff recently actually about it. So
yeah, so I went to a conference specific on that, very recent. So something for sure, like the best conference I've ever been in. So it's something I've been talking to people a lot about that. Which is funny because my accountant is the one that actually put together, and you never think about an accountant putting a conference together, right?
Right.
So that's very interesting. But they provided me a concept called day one, which means every day is basically day one. So what do you do every day that's changing what you have in mind or what your goals are?
Sure.
So some things I do on a daily basis are, coffee is like my ritual. I think a lot better when I drink coffee. So that's one thing, like I have an incredible amount of like pleasure when drinking coffee and all that. So drinking coffee is one thing that follow one another, right? So while I drink my coffee, I, write my goals down. That's one thing I do every single day. And then when I write those goals down, I have pretty, high level, some things that I really scare me. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to achieve that. But then I think back and I'm like, what are going to be my tasks for today that's going to be one step closer to that, right?
Yep.
So that's one thing I do every day. I also enjoy working out, so that's where I kind of keep my mind to just thinking and seeing what I can be achieving during the day. So I, drinking coffee, writing my goals down, and working out are definitely the three things that I do on a regimen on a daily basis without, no doubt.
Yeah, I drink a ton of coffee, so I can hear you there. Have you had any deals that you've done, throughout your course that didn't really go right, or something happened maybe that came up unexpected? You could kind of share.
Yeah, so when I started when I started doing deals, not specifically syndication, but single family deals. So I bought some deals in Brazil along with my dad. And it's not that it didn't go right, but it's just the whole concept of single family for me did not work at that point. And the main reason for that is, we bought one unit and then we rented it out, and then we couldn't get the rent. We would go knock on the door, and then they would have an issue and be like, you got to fix my toilet, and until you don't do that, we're not paying your rent. So we would go do that, and then they'll find another excuse, and then they would move out and we'll be down, right? So that's when I started, looking for larger units, so duplexes, fourplexes, and then we started figuring out that was kind of the same concept. I was like, okay, how big do I need to scale to not have those issues on a daily basis?
Yeah,
and it's when I, learned more about multifamily and being able to buy multiple units on one location. And for me, is really creating the community feel, right? I think multifamily is more than, if you are able to have a multifamily complex, in any, in an A, B, C class multifamily concept, whatever that may be, find a way to create a community. So have somebody on site which we can't do on a fourplex and all that.
Right.
But having somebody on site that knows the people that are there, they can create like some community events. If they bring in somebody else into to live in your community, there's some sort of camaraderie or whatnot. That way they're more likely to take care of the property, pay your rent. And then if you have a 30, 40, 100 unit building, if 1, 2, 10 people leave, you're still not down on expenses.
Right.
So I'd say that would be my the project that didn't go well is whenever I was buying small and thinking too small. And that kind of, that forced me to change my mindset and moving on to larger properties.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if you have a single family and it goes vacant, you're 100% vacant. 100 unit, one moves out, it's 1%. Much different feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And like you said, the unit turnover, I mean, it kills you. Vacancy and turning units is, what takes from your NOI. So if you keep, like you said, people happy in their units, you're going to have better NOI and better returns.
Yeah, I've tried doing the single family thing in multiple different aspects, and right now I had an apartment. I still have an apartment in Brazil, which is like our family, our family beach apartment from when I was younger. We still go there once in a while, and we're like, why we don't put that on Airbnb? So I know a lot of people like Airbnb here. If you like Airbnb, reach out and help me out because it doesn't work for me. So we've had it in the market in Airbnb for some time, and it's just. It doesn't even cover our expenses right now. So
really?
I definitely appreciate people that do well on Airbnb, but that's another example of something that didn't go well. And, it's mainly about, what you focus on is what you achieve. So for me, multifamily is what I like. And that's a way for me to, like I said in the beginning, I can bring a bunch of people along and we can all win together. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, Airbnb, I've never tried it. But I know a lot of people who are successful at it.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice. I mean, it sounds like a nice one right on the beach. You'd think
it has everything to go right, but it's definitely not working right now. So trying to learn a little bit more from it, and we'll probably sell at some point. But
yeah, makes sense. Well, if you could go back to say your 18-year-old self, is there anything you would change or do different, knowing what you know now?
For me, I mean, the main thing would be mindset. I like to say that I changed my mindset with as years went on significantly. But usually you wait till drastic times for you to change. So it's not something, most people are not looking to change their mindset. It's something that they're responding to that allows them to change their mindset, right? Yeah. So for me, it was whenever, I moved to the United States, I changed my mindset a little bit. I had unfortunately, my dad passed away when I was fairly young, so that completely changed my mindset. Yeah. And then I try to look at things on the good way, right? So all those things allow me to change my mindset to the better. But my 18-year-old would be like, okay, what can I do today to change it? And for me to be, being around people that think bigger, writing my goals down on a daily basis. I was not doing that. I definitely had dreams, and I was trying to achieve those things, but I didn't have anything concrete. It was all kind of spatial, right? Or we want to, have so much revenue or provide something or make a donation to something. So I always had this big vision, but I never write it down. And whenever you don't write it down, you don't achieve it. I really like a phrase that say, to achieve anything, you must write down something. So that is for me, writing my goals down. If I went back to 18, I definitely would be, writing those goals down, going to conferences and being surrounded by people that have achieved what I want to achieve. Yeah.
They always say your network is your net worth, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's definitely true.
Yeah. Now, is there any books or any people in your life maybe that have been influential and kind of helped you make that leap?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and I'm very fortunate to say that, and definitely some books as well. Probably, and there's a lot of people that say this, but Rich Dad Poor Dad has been one book that completely changed. I think school should be giving that book out and having people read that book.
Yeah.
Because you don't learn almost anything about finances or anything like that in school. So if they allow people or just made people read that book when people are in high school and middle school, mindset would change, and that definitely changed for me. So I like to say that was one of the books that definitely made my mindset change. And then what really one step that really changed my mindset is going to conferences. So I went to a lot of Grant Cardone conferences. There's two people, some people that hate Grant Cardone, some people that love Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
I fortunately, whenever I kind of had a similar story to his. So whenever I heard about his story of his dad passing away, that kind of related to me. And that made me read the 10X rule book, which that made me change my mindset in terms of goals and potential, right?
Yeah.
So that was very beneficial for me. And I'm very grateful for Grant Cardone because of that, the mindset shift and all that. So I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
So I like to say that he was a big influential thing for me, just from that concept. Also, my dad, I didn't have him around too long of my life, but I think both of being him around and teaching me what he did, as well as to him passing away and that whole aspect of it, those two things kind of taught me. And I like to look at it as a good thing per se. The whole thing provided me a different aspect on life and made me where I am today. So
yeah, exactly. I agree, man. I do like Grant Cardone. He does make you really like push your mindset, if you really listen to what he says. I think it's good. I'm sure your dad would be proud of where you're at today. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm always, I think back and I look forward, and I always try to, what can I do to change the mindset of people around and make those things go for the better. And that's one reason why I raise capital from international investors, really. If my dad had the possibility of having people raising capital, I would be in a better position than I am today. So I'm trying to give that position to people in Brazil that, kind of in that same scenario.
That makes sense. So I guess I was going to ask you, what would be like your number one strategy for passive income? Is it kind of like investing passively in a multifamily, or what? What would be your number one?
Yes, that's how I started. I was in engineering, so I knew quite a bit about real estate. And then everybody surrounded me, everybody on my office, all my coworkers and all that, they all invested in 401ks and all those things. Yeah. And I never liked the stock market. I never understood it. There was one time that I lost significant amount of money in the stock market. And I was like, well, I'm going to learn it. Then I started learning about day trading, and that didn't work out. So I was like, okay, real estate is really where I want to be at, and just focusing on that. And then I wanted to learn more when I figured out that multifamily was an asset.
Right.
Before I didn't know. I was like, well, who can I invest with that I'm going to get the most amount of value and learn how to play the game? Yeah. So I invested passively in multifamily since then. Within 6 months, I took my entire capital out of 401k, out of all my investments, and put everything into multifamily. So I'm all into multifamily. And I'm looking forward to, selling the little bit of single family and duplexes I have to move forward with multifamily.
The management is just so much easier than the multifamily.
Yeah. And I love to, break it down to people, especially my Brazilian investors. What's the difference between you renting, you have owning a single family in a condo complex and renting it out, or investing passively in one of our deals. And usually the numbers are so close. And that's not talking about the whole appreciation and tax deduction and all that kind of crazy stuff. So, so when you break those things down, I truly am completely sold on multifamily and investing. And I don't only raise capital and do my own deals, but I also, investing with other people as LPs, because, I truly believe on the whole concept.
Right. Exactly. Now, what markets are you targeting, passively and or active?
Yeah, so we have and we target definitely Sunbelt Southeast is where we like. We like landlord friendly states, like everybody else.
Yeah.
So mainly Texas, Georgia, North South Carolina, Florida. We love Florida. I think there's huge potential in Florida.
Agree.
And I also like Tennessee. So right now, passively, I own in Florida, Texas, Georgia, and no, that's it. Florida, Texas, Georgia.
Yeah.
But we definitely look in Tennessee. I think there's some potential there as well. Florida is definitely one of my top ones.
Yeah, I agree. I love Florida. Now, if there's one question you would ask yourself that I didn't ask you, what would that be?
Man, that's always a tricky one, and
I know, right?
There's so much, but man, I had something in mind and then kind of lost track. But construction, I think it's something that I would like to talk about more. It's something I love talking about.
Yeah.
So I could talk about construction forever. I think there's a lot of potential there in the coming new year and a few years ahead. So it's something I'm going to be focusing more on into construction as much as possible, specifically to multifamily construction. I still wanted the whole concept into being able to easily manage properties and all that. But everybody looks for value add, and there's no more value add than new build. It's just a matter of looking at the right locations and having enough of a market to provide value to.
Yep. Especially with your background in construction and your engineering degrees. I mean, makes total sense,
Yeah.
So, now, where can people contact you and reach out?
So the best way to reach out to me would be my Instagram. So my first name, last name, JR for Junior. So Renato Geromel Jr. That's my personal Instagram. That's where I'm mostly active. And I'm pretty active in all social media as well. So I always like to, if you find me on social media, feel free to message me and reach out. And like Andrew and I said in the beginning, we have a meetup in Orlando. So if you want to, talk to us face to face, I think that's a cool way to just getting to know us a little bit better. And that would be the two best ways, I'd say.
Okay, awesome.
Always available to answer questions and talking multifamily construction. I just love the industry and truly passionate about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we can meet up for a coffee and talk for hours, so it's fun. I like doing that. It's great. We have a good time. So we'll get into our 5 to Thrive now. So this is the word association game. So I'm just gonna run off 5 words and just give me the first word or phrase that comes to mind off the top of your head. The only thing is you can't repeat your answer twice.
Sounds good.
All right. So the first one is investments.
Freedom.
Real estate.
Work.
Cash flow.
Man, that's not easy to not repeat.
I know, right?
Yeah. Cash flow. Potential.
I like that one. Networking.
Connections.
And Geromel Capital.
International investors.
I like it. Well, man, it was great to have you on the show. I really appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate you, and it was a pleasure talking to you and being here.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.